Joe, Jerry, any other mistakes that you have seen that you might want to share with the audience?
Thanks for asking, Lisa. Yeah, just to build on what Ellie mentioned, I think just striking the right tone for the learning environment is really, really important. It's key to challenge your learners, yet it is equally important to make the learning environment safe. I think of myself when I need to learn something new. If I feel threatened in that environment, I'm less likely to take the chances and to try on the new behaviors that I need to develop. So striking that right tone is really important. And a second thing I think that is also important is not to be overly ambitious with content. In the skills that we teach, it's really important to keep our briefings brief and to allow the majority of the classroom time for people to actively practice the skills, to develop the muscle memory that Lawrence talked about. And we try to give adults the flexibility really to internalize the skills in different ways. So while there's one way to shoot a layup, probably a preferred way, different players will vary that skill and still get the consistent results that you want. And the same thing works from a presentation standpoint or a writing standpoint. Ultimately, it has to represent really the true person and their way of doing things too.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say if we work too hard to change someone, even if they're successful, they're exhausted. And the ability to retain that over the long haul may just be too hard, just too hard. Lawrence, I'm interested from your perspective, how does culture impact the way you approach behavior change on the court?
Yeah, I think culture is vital. There's a writer who I've spent a lot of time with named John Gordon, who's written a bunch of books on leadership, but he has a great saying that culture drives behavior, behavior drives your habits drive your future. And I think it's very true. And it's very, very important in basketball, in our sport, for everyone to understand what you stand for and what your core values are and what direction you're headed. Because I think when someone doesn't fit, it has to be obvious. See, in coaching, and again, it's maybe a little more of a hard-line approach than what you see in the business world. You can modify behavior. We don't believe you can rehabilitate character. So if there's a bad guy, the amount of energy you're going to spend trying to rehabilitate him, it's not worth it. You don't have the time. The NBA, it's about survival of the fittest. And probably the biggest misnomer is entitled athlete. If you were to see what an NBA player has to go through every single day and how fragile their lifestyle is, how you can go from being on that would be $500 fine. Yeah. But but I'm not working anymore. You don't have anything to worry about.
Different pay scale.
Yeah. But your culture, I think, drives everything because it's just the standard you set. And if you're we're going to come to work every single type of day team. If you're a team that values constructive criticism, you value coaching, you value the fact that it is interactive. Because, see, as a coach, you learn as much from your players as they learn from you. And I'm dealing with men. Now, some of these men are 20 years old, but you learn a lot. But you can't learn unless you're willing to. There'd be many times in a timeout where you may ask a player, hey, what do you see out there? How they guarding this action? How do you think we can take advantage of it? So when you talk about empowering your employees and to create the buy-in that we're all in, that all feeds into your culture. And our credo has always been earn your way every day. Every day you have to earn it, okay? And I think another great credo, the San Antonio Spurs have been a great model in the NBA. Their credo is pound the rock. And it goes back to an old saying by Jacob Riis. Does everyone know the stonecutter analogy about taking a hammer and you're hammering away at the rock and you've hammered away 100 times and there's not even a crack in the rock. But it's that 101st blow that cracks open the rock. And yet, it wasn't the 101st blow. It was the 100 blows that preceded that 101st blow that was able to break the rock open. I think it's, what is your culture? What's your credo? And do you live up to it? And do you hold people accountable to it? And are you accountable to it? And do you embody what you're about every single day?
Well, I don't know if there are many people in the audience like me, but I must confess, what I know about sports you could put on a pinhead. Yet, I must say, Lawrence, I am amazed at the parallels between what you are saying and what we see every single day in corporate America. It's really, truly amazing.
Well, Lisa, it's interesting when you kind of add those things together, take some of the stuff that Ellie said and tie it in with what Lawrence has said about culture and modeling the way. One of the things that's always stuck with me is something that I heard from Jack and Carol Weber, who were professors at the Darden School. And in a leadership course, they said the environment that you work in is there because you either created it, you promoted it, or you allowed it. So from a modeling the way perspective, it's there because you built it, you didn't stop somebody from doing something you didn't want them to do, or you rewarded somebody for doing behavior. So you as a leader and as a manager are equally as responsible for creating that culture as the people in the space that you work in.
Yeah, no question. That really speaks to accountability quite a bit, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
A willingness to take responsibility. Joe or Jerry, let me direct this to you. So we talked a little bit about the impact of culture. What about when you are trying to change behavior in, say, a sales culture, which we heard a little bit about before, versus a technical culture, or even maybe a domestic population versus an international one? Jerry, let me start with you. Are you seeing any differences there?
Well, it's interesting in terms of the way we work and operate in both of those pieces, and I'll actually take the international versus domestic one first. I happened to just spend some time last week over in Singapore with some of our sales professionals there, and this was a group of people who were focused on developing the business in China and into Vietnam and other markets like that. And when we went out there, it was like, okay, what's going to be different, right? What are we going to have to do differently because of that? And interestingly enough, when we sat down with them, and again, it may be just the business that we're in, which is helping individuals invest and reach their goals and building relationships with people. But when you sat down and talked to them and you said, gee, what's the number one most important challenge your clients face? And the answer was, they're worried about their kids.
Wow.
And now the emphasis from the folks covering China came back and said, well, and it's equally important over there because of the one-child policy, and you've only got one child to focus on. But I thought about that, and I said, while there's different cultures and different ways to interact and things that you have to do or not do because you don't want to offend somebody, at its core, it's still a business about people dealing with people and building that relationship. And it seems very, very similar. The more I keep thinking about the book about the flat world, the flat and flatter world, it really is becoming a very flat world with all the technology and all the innovations and everything that happens and how quickly people come up with it. And my last just touch on that, and I'll turn it over to you, Joe. I mean, a perfect example of that is the iPhone. I mean, they don't even give you a manual for how to use the thing. But it doesn't matter where you go,
which I could have used, by the way. But.
Right? But anywhere you go, i.e., like when I was just out in Singapore the other week, the younger folks know how to do everything on it, but nobody taught them how to do it. They just learn. It's there. That culture of learning is becoming so similar in every place.